Good afternoon. Action. And, wait for few waiting for other participants to start the session shortly. Till the time we wait for other participants to join, you guys can go to social media platforms and our meetup community. Hello, audible? Can someone please just confirm by giving a thumbs up? Okay, thank you. Hello everyone, welcome to the session. We are waiting for participants to join. Start the session in next few minutes. Anyway, we'll start the session in next few minutes. In the time we wait for the participants to join, please go to our social media platforms and step community. Already shared the link in the chat box. Everyone. Aman, we are starting this session right now. Sonu sir, am I audible clearly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, hello and welcome everyone. I am Shubh Parmar, your host for today's webinar. My team and I are here to make sure you have a seamless and engaging experience. If you have any questions or need assistance, feel free to use the chat window. We are here to help. The topic for today is AWS Cloud Essentials for Business Leaders. Today's event is sponsored by Synergetics. Synergetics is a leading edge learning solutions provider in India offering specialized training and consulting services. We empower businesses and professionals to thrive in today's fast evolving tech landscape by delivering transformative learning experiences. Our core focus is on enabling digital transformation through innovative skilling programs, advisory services, and end to end implementation support. From modernizing IT frameworks to mastering emerging technologies like AI, cloud computing, and DevOps, Synergetics is committed to equipping you with the tools and knowledge to succeed. We are thrilled to have Mr. Sonu Satyadas as our today's speaker. He is a certified Microsoft trainer and an assistant manager technology at Synergetics. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in AI and cloud technologies. The agenda for this webinar is Introduction to Cloud Computing, AWS Cloud Concepts, Business Value of the Cloud, Cloud Value Framework, Wrap Up and Resources. We run communities on Meetup. This is the emerging technology community. Anyone who are eager to learn about technological knowledge can join this community on Meetup. We have multiple communities in Pune, Gujarat, Nagpur, and Indore. Those who are interested to join this community, please log into the Meetup app and gain your knowledge for free. So, accelerate your cloud journey with our AWS webinar series. Um, Whether you're just getting started or looking to deepen expertise, a curated webinar series has something for everyone. Launch your tech career with AWS Basics, which is perfect for beginners. Understand AWS fundamentals, explore career roles, and kickstart your certification journey. For IT professionals and developers, dive into cloud architecture, migrations, and advanced tools like machine learning and prompt engineering. For data and AI professionals, master data strategies, analytics, and AI essentials that help you stay ahead in a data driven world. For business and technical decision makers, gain clarity and cloud investments, generative AI use cases, and why AWS certification adds strategic value. So join our expert-led sessions and future-proof your skills with AWS. If Regarding more details for this webinar series calendar, I'll share contact to one of my colleague, Mr. Vivek Balasundaram. I'll share his contact number and email ID. You can connect with him for more details. I would also like to take a moment to share some information about the certification workshops we conduct at Synergetics. These webinars you've been attending are designed to give you a brief overview and summary of the full course content. However, the HL certification training program for this course is run over 4 days, and we are currently offering them at a special discounted rate exclusively for webinar attendees. On my screen, you can see the list of in-demand certification courses we are currently focusing on. For more details, again, you can connect with one of my colleagues, Mr. Vivek Balasundaram. Uh, just please avoid this, the month of October and August. Uh, Other than that, all the other slots are available. I'll share Vivek's number and email ID in the chat box. You can connect with him for more details. All right, everyone, it's time for a quick quiz to make our session a little more interactive. We have 5 questions lined up, and each one will test your knowledge for today's topic. Don't worry, it's all about learning. So think of this as a chance to check how much you have picked up. So quickly drop your answers in the chat box after every question. So you can see the first question. Which of the following best describes the main benefit of AWS Cloud for Business? Uh, I request everyone to please answer. Quickly drop your answers in the chat box. Is it A, B, C, or D? Which of the following best describes the main benefit of AWS Cloud for businesses? Mm. So yes, C is the right answer. Pay as you go, cost efficiency and agility. We jump to the next question. What is one of the key responsibilities of a business leader when adopting cloud technology? Quickly drop your answers in the chat box. Is it A, B, C, or D? I want to see everyone answer the questions. Will be fun. Quickly drop your answers in the chat box. Yes, maybe Aftab. So yes, C is the correct answer for this question, aligning cloud adoption with business goals and strategy. We'll jump to the next question. I can see very few of them answering. I request everyone to please answer. Let's see who knows well. Uh, Third question is which AWS service primarily helps businesses monitor spending and optimize cost? Is it A, B, C, or D? Quickly drop your answers. So yes, B is the correct answer for this question. AWS Cost Explorer. We'll jump to the next question. What does AWS provide to help businesses ensure high availability and reliability? Is it A, B, C, or D? Quickly drop your answers, guys. Request everyone to answer. So yes, again, B is the correct answer for this question. Multi-region and multi-AZ development. We'll jump to the last question. Which AWS service helps leaders gain data-driven insights using analytics? Quickly drop your answers in the chat box. This is the last question. Is it A, B, C, or D? Most of them answering B. So the correct answer for this question is option C, Amazon Redshift. Well done, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. So do follow us on our social media platforms to get relevant updates on upcoming webinars, workshops, and certification training we do. I've already shared the link in the chat box to our social media platforms. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. Now I'll hand over the mic to a speaker, Mr. Sonu. Sonu, sir, you can take over from here.
Thank you, Shubh. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the session AWS Cloud Essentials for Business Leaders. In this quick session, we are trying to understand how this AWS cloud is helping us to build and deploy applications in uh, less cost. What are the features it offers? So this session will help you to take a decision on how or why we have to migrate to the cloud services, what benefits you get in adopting the cloud technologies. So to start with, we need to understand the history of IT. So we have started with the mainframes, and then we started working on the desktop computers, and organizations started building their own data centers in on-premise. These on-premise data centers contains maybe a large set of servers, storage services, and network infrastructure that provides services to the organization. So they used to build and deploy the applications on this data centers. But now we are using these cloud technologies instead of building and deploying these applications on the on-premise environment. So in this session, we will focus on the cloud technologies, why we have to use this cloud, and how it is helping us to build and deploy the applications with ease, in low cost, with a low maintenance. Myself, Sonu Satyadas, I'm the speaker for today's session. I'm an AWS authorized instructor, and this session is basically for those who wants to know about the cloud and the features of cloud and why we have to use cloud and how it will be beneficial for the organization if if your organization is using the traditional on-premise data centers, how you can migrate your applications and services to the cloud. What are the key parameters we have to identify if you are planning to migrate to the cloud? So here, as you can see, still some of the organizations are working on the on-premise environment, but most of the new organizations has already started working on cloud because cloud is the future. Cloud is providing the platform for innovation. So because as you know, today we are living in a world where the AI is used everywhere. All the new tools, technologies that we use today is operating from the cloud. So in this traditional IT services, some of the key factors that we need to understand is the upfront expenses that we need to spend on the infrastructure. Usually, organizations needs to spend a lot of money for buying and maintaining those infrastructure. Sometimes the estimations that they do may not be sufficient for running these applications and services. Sometimes they over provision the services, which means they purchase more infrastructure by spending more money, but the actual usage of those resources will be very less. They have to spend a lot of money on infrastructure and maintaining those infrastructure. They have to appoint a team for maintaining this on-premise data center up to date. They have to ensure the daily backups are taken. There is no glitches in providing services. If there is something goes wrong, something crashed, they need to recover those services and data. So maintaining these applications and services requires 24 by 7 monitoring. And these organizations need to make an estimation on the capacity, like how much they have to invest, because depends on the current requirement. They may uh, create an estimation and spend money on those infrastructures. But later, sometimes we may think that, okay, we should have spent some more money to buy more resources because there are some more projects and resources required, or projects are coming and we need to spend more for buying resources. Sometimes the amount which we have spent on those resources will be waste, because some of the experiments that we do, if gets failed, the money spent on that is also gone waste. So making capacity estimations is very, very difficult. Sometimes we overspend, or sometimes we spend very less than the actual cost. And it will be very, very difficult for us to scale the resources very quickly in an on-premise environment, because sometimes we may have to increase the set of servers. Sometimes we have to increase the storage, or we have to increase some other resources. But scaling the resources very quickly is very, very difficult in an on-premise environment, because they have to buy more infrastructure and integrate with the existing system. And that obviously takes too much time. As you know, in an organization, if you have to buy something and install, you need to go through a lot of processes, getting approvals from different departments, ordering the systems, getting it, and then integrating to the existing system. That is a time consuming process and cannot be done very quickly. And suppose if there is a new concept or new technology has been introduced, it will be very difficult for an organization to adopt this technology because they are stuck in the existing infrastructure. For example, if an organization need to build an microservices based applications or container based solutions or AI based applications, they may require some new infrastructure for implementing that. But it will be very difficult for them to adopt these new technologies. Also, it will be very difficult for organizations to migrate from one to another one. Means, suppose if they have to switch the database tools and technologies, they have to switch the frameworks because that again requires a lot of time and energy to build and uh, maintain those infrastructure. So the agility is very, very low or less in case of on-premise systems. And if you are building and deploying these on-premise resources in a particular region, the resources will be accessible only to a limited set of people. Even though you are making these resources publicly accessible, people from remote locations may face latency issue for accessing those resources. For example, if you are deploying an application in an on-premise server, accessing those applications from a remote location will have latency. So if you use the traditional on-premise systems, you can see these challenges and it will be very difficult for us to resolve very quickly because we have already invested a lot on infrastructure. We have very limited team to manage this infrastructure, making sure that the applications and services available to all users and switching from one technology to another technology is very difficult. So there comes the cloud as a solution. Organizations can now migrate to the cloud because cloud is providing all the services and tools required to build and deploy applications. You don't need to spend anything on the infrastructure. That means organizations need not to spend anything on infrastructure to build and maintain those servers. For cloud service providers like AWS will be maintaining the complete infrastructure, which is shared by hundreds of customers, and you can simply consume those provided services. Suppose if you have to deploy a web application, you can provision an instance, a virtual machine instance from the cloud and deploy that server or deploy that application. Or if you have to deploy a database service, you don't need to build any database servers. database application or database solutions are available on the cloud, you can just consume those database solutions without maintaining any infrastructure. So cloud service providers like AWS will help you to run your applications and services on the cloud without worrying about the cost, maintainability, and observability. Because all will be taken care by the cloud. As a user, you just need to consume those resources, and whatever you have consumed, you need to pay for it. The best part of this is at any point of time, you can withdraw the services. Suppose if you are using an AWS service, it may be a database or networking service or storage service or a compute service. At any point of time, you can stop using those services and you don't need to pay anymore for that particular service. Literally saying you are not spending anything from your pocket for the infrastructure. So nowadays, organizations are migrating their applications and services from on-premise servers to the cloud. And cloud service providers like AWS providing multiple tools and technologies to migrate these applications and data. Suppose if you have to migrate your application or you have to migrate your database or data, cloud service providers offers specially designed tools and services for that. So we have identified that the cloud is the future, or cloud can be used to run your applications and services. So let's understand what is in cloud computing. Now, compared to the on-premise environment, how this cloud is different. If you look at in an on-premise environment, you are responsible to maintain all the infrastructure, whether it is the server, network, electricity, systems, everything is managed by you. So in case if there is something goes wrong or something failed, it is your responsibility to fix it. And you have to spend a lot of money for buying those resources. It may be a server or it may be a networking component. It may be the identity solutions, whatever it is. And you will be accessing those services within your local environment. That means if you are using an on-premise server, you can access those on-premise servers from your organization's corporate network. And it will be difficult to expose these services publicly because you have to ensure your data is secured, the connections are secured, and there is no threats there to your applications and services. But on the other side, in a cloud environment, The cloud service provider is responsible to provide you the servers, compute, storage, database, networking, and the other services. Whatever is the services you are using, all these applications and services will be provided by the cloud service provider. And it is the responsibility of the cloud service provider to maintain these services, and they ensure high availability for these services. What is mean by high availability? This is one of the feature of cloud that ensure the applications and services are running 24 by 7 without any downtime. And it is also possible to enable auto scaling for the resources to ensure that the requests are consumed or requests are meeting these requirements. Suppose if an application is consumed by hundreds of customers at the same time, you have to ensure that all the customers are able to access those resources without any difficulty. So sometimes we may have to provision more servers to enable this. In cloud services, you can easily scale your services. And as an administrator, you will be managing those resources using a web console or a command line interface. So you can create, delete, or manage the resources on the cloud using this web portal or the web user interface or the command line interface. It also helps you, or it is also allowing you to manage your resources from anywhere, anytime. You can use any devices for managing your resources. Means you can even use your mobile devices to manage your cloud resources. All the cloud users access those services over the internet. So in a cloud service, we access or we consume these services on demand, which means suppose if as a user, if I have to deploy my application, it is a web application, maybe a .NET or Java or some other framework. You don't need to worry about creating a new server and deploying it. There are predefined services available for hosting your applications. You just need to provision a new instance of that service and then deploy your application. At any point of time, you can withdraw these services also. You just need to go and delete that resource. And once you stop using those services, you don't need to pay for this because here the costing model is pay as you go, which means when you consume a resource, then only you need to pay for that. Cloud is also providing the flexibility to provision the resources of various types. Depends on your workload. Suppose if you are planning to create a workflow or you are planning to run a serverless application or you want to run your applications in a containerized format, means Docker container format, or you have to deploy your applications on a dedicated server instance, still you can do that. That means at any point of time, you can create the resources in any region, because AWS cloud provides the services at various locations. These locations are called regions. So at any point of time, you can create those resources as you need. And some of these resources provides free usage, and some of those resources you have to pay based on the usage. That means if you are consuming these services for a short period of time, maybe you are using it for an hour. If you are using it for an hour, you have to pay only for that duration. Since you are not investing on the infrastructure, you will be paying only for the use. That means it's just like you are renting a car, right? So you are not buying a car for traveling. Instead, you are renting a car. So whenever you want to stop, you can stop it and return the resources. So why we have to use cloud services? Where I can use these cloud services? Cloud services we can use for data backups. Means if an organization needs to maintain the data backup, maybe this backup data or the archival data contains gigabytes or terabytes of data, and they have to ensure the data is highly available. That means whenever they want to access the data or whenever they want to recover the data, it should be available. So cloud services can offer the data storage solutions and data backup solutions for storing such data. Disaster recovery is also an important feature, because in an on-premise environment, you may be able to set up a single server uh, site. A site means you may have a single server environment where all your applications and services are running. Suppose if your site is goes down, you may not be able to consume those services. But in your cloud environment, you can create replicas. So what is the benefit of creating replicas? In case if a service goes down in a particular region, you can still continue using those services from another region. The data recovery solutions provided by cloud services helps you to recover from the failures very easily. You can use email service providers, which are also using the cloud services like Gmail, Outlook. All they are using the cloud services. You can consume virtual desktop. Suppose a development team wants to use developer machines, but they don't want to install and configure the applications or softwares in their own machine. They can create virtual desktops on cloud and start working on the virtual desktops. Software development and testing. Suppose if a team is working on a POC, maybe that is an AI related or container related or DevOps related, something, some new concept they are working on. They can use the cloud for building and testing these applications and services because they may not have sufficient infrastructure for running those applications on on-premise environment because it's completely a new technology which is not yet implemented in the on-premise environment. But on cloud, which is up to date, you can use the cloud to provision those services and start using it. You can also use the cloud for big data analysis because cloud service providers offers various data analysis services and storage solutions. So you can store terabytes of data or petabytes of data on cloud and use the analysis services, ETL or ELT solutions, Spark, Apache Spark solutions, Databricks solutions. They can use various data analysis solutions from the cloud, which means they don't need to provision anything on their on-premise environment. All services can be directly consumed from the cloud. Last but not the least, you can even use the cloud to deploy customer-facing web applications. So today, most of the applications that we see, including the e-commerce websites like Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, the social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, all, all these applications and services are now running from the cloud. So they are public facing or customer facing applications. So we can use the cloud to host such customer facing applications. So what are the benefits of using this cloud resources? Just to reiterate, this is providing on-demand access to the IT resources. As I mentioned earlier, you can provision the resources at any time and from anywhere. And you can access any type of services. If you need a container-based solution, if you need a serverless solution, or you need a dedicated infrastructure, so you will get any kind of resources from the cloud environment. And the amount that you have to pay is only based on the usage. That's called the pay-as-you-go pricing model. Elasticity is a feature that offers that is that the cloud offers. So suppose if the demand goes high, you can provision more services, and if the demand goes down, you can relieve those resources. Means have to you need to use only the resources that you need. So at any point of time, you can change the resource size. Suppose if you are using a virtual machine, which is a medium capacity machine, but you identify that this medium size or medium capacity machine is not sufficient to run my workload, and I have to upgrade to a higher configuration. So you can easily do that with a cloud. Security and reliability. Cloud services are aligned with the various compliance standards like ISO, HIPAA, RFC, and many more. So there are many compliance standards defined, and the cloud services are aligned with this security standards. So as a user, you can deploy your applications and services without worrying about the compliance. So you can use the cloud services for deploying the applications that is from healthcare domain, education domain, or finance domain. So various kinds of applications and services can be deployed in the cloud. Globally available. As I mentioned earlier, since these cloud services are globally distributed, you can access those services from anywhere using a web user interface or a command line interface. So if you are using this AWS console, the web user interface that we use to provision and maintain those AWS resources is called the AWS console. So you can access those console from anywhere, and using this console, you can deploy the applications and services in any region. Maybe you are sitting in India, but you want to deploy the resources in a US location. No worries, you can still use the web portal to deploy your services on a remote location. And some of the uh, organizations prefer cloud because those organizations may be working on emerging technologies. For using those emerging technologies, they need a wide variety of services. Maybe they are working on AI technologies, blockchain, machine learning, data analysis, container-based solutions, DevOps and security. So there are various domains or various tools and services they need for working on these technologies. The cloud can offer all these services using a single environment. Suppose if your organization wants to use container-based solutions or AI solutions, data analysis solutions, DevOps solutions, all these services can be provided by cloud. So most of the modern companies or organizations are moving to the cloud or adopting cloud for their day-to-day activities because they will get choices of services. And finally, this economies of scale. So you are getting the option to provision the resources based on the demand. And when you provision new instances, you have to pay for that. And when you remove those instances, you can stop paying for that. That means as a user, when you provision new instances, you will be paying for those resources. But when you remove those instances, you will stop paying for that. So since you are not paying for the infrastructure, this will give benefits to the customers in terms of cost. And flexibility in scaling is also offered. Scaling means depends on the demand, they can provision new resources. So that is a scalability option. So because of that, organizations are now adopting cloud for building and deploying the applications and solutions. Now look at the cloud business model. If you look at currently we have different IT service models available. As we have discussed, we have on-premise solutions where everything is managed by you. Means you are managing the complete infrastructure, that is compute, storage, networking, backup and disaster recovery, identity solutions. Everything is managed by you. This will give you more control over the infrastructure because it's you created, so you will get more control over that. But the limitation is this is only internal to the organization. Otherwise, you have to publicly expose the services. But when you go with the cloud services, you will get multiple options. You can use infrastructure as a service options. You will get platform as a service option, or you will get software as a service option. In an infrastructure as a service option, the cloud service provider is giving you the underlying compute, storage, and network solutions. And it is your responsibility to create and configure this setup. Suppose if we are planning to deploy the application, you need to create the virtual instances or virtual machine instances and deploy the application. But the compute instance is provided by AWS. So you can see in this diagram or in this picture, the blue colored boxes are managed by the cloud service provider, which means the underlying servers, storage, virtualization, and network. These all managed by the vendor. You don't need to worry about that. But as a user, you are responsible to install this operating system, install and configure this runtime environment. Data means some data is provided by the organization and some data is provided by the user. So it's a shared one. And this application is deployed and managed by the user. But when it comes to platform as a service, where the servers, virtualization, storage, runtime, operating system, network, that means the major part of this is provided by vendor, cloud vendor like AWS. So this is, I can say it is a ready to use services. So ready to use database services, ready to use application deployment services, ready to use container solutions, where you just need to specify what or which application you have to deploy. That's it. You don't need to worry about the number of machines or the type of the machine, the network configurations, anything. So all data and software, including the underlying operating system, everything will be taken care by the cloud service provider. In, in the third model, which is software as a service, you will be just consuming the applications and services offered by the cloud, where as a user, you don't need to do anything. You will be consuming the application and data provided by the cloud service providers, like email services you are consuming, in which you will be creating an account, or you are just a login with your login credentials, but you are not creating any instances. So in this cloud deployment models, as I mentioned, in an on-premise, the owner, that is the IT administrator, is controlling the entire infrastructure. He will deploy the entire application and databases on the on-premise environment. But when it comes to the cloud, you will get the options like some of the applications we can migrate to the cloud as an experiment. Like instead of moving all the applications, as part of the migration, you can migrate only few non-critical applications. Once you have identified, okay, everything works fine on the cloud, then you can start migrating more and more application services. Means you can deploy your applications, or you can migrate your applications from on-premise to the cloud slowly. Initially, you deploy the non-critical applications. Then you can start deploying more number of applications and services, start migrating your databases. And once you are stable, then you can start building cloud native applications. What is meant by this cloud native applications? In a cloud native application, you will be creating and consuming resources only from the cloud. There is nothing on premise. So you are going to create everything on the cloud. It may be a database, servers, or identity solutions. All will be created inside the cloud environment. And your application is fully compatible to run on the cloud platform. Such applications we call as cloud native applications. So they leverage the latest tools and technologies like DevOps integrations, container solutions. All these are supported by those applications. Now, elasticity is one of the important point. So why? Because when you provision the resources on the cloud environment, you will be able to consume all the resources that you provision. But when you use the services from an on-premise data center, like you are using the servers from your on-premise data center, how you will identify whether you are consuming all the resources efficiently. So what is the average utilization rate of a typical data center? That means, so yes, we have invested a lot on the infrastructure. We have configured servers in the on-premise environment. But are we using these services efficiently? The average server use, the average server use rate is 18%, which means 82% is unused. That means if your organization's servers are not fully utilized, which means you have over provisioned. You have provisioned a lot of resources. You have spent a lot on the infrastructure, but you are not using that properly. You are just using only uh, a small amount of that. So typically 18% or 25% of that provisioned resource. So when we talk about the usage can be various types. It may be a fluctuating usage. Fluctuating usage means sometimes it goes very high and sometimes it goes down. Again, after sometimes it will goes very high, then it goes down. So we cannot predict when it will consume more. Like sometimes it is increased and sometimes it is decreased. That also the usage is like a steep curve. So not curve. The usage is like suddenly there will be a what, spike on the usage. Suppose when something goes wrong, the resource utilization may go up. Like when the demonetization was happened some years back, hope you remember that the usage of ATM services increased a lot. So the servers, those those are handling those ATM transactions crashed because because of the over usage of those services. So that was a sudden change because it was not planned. Similarly, suppose if suddenly there is some public transport strike, then people will start using this uh, taxi services like Ola and Uber. So the usage of those applications, Ola, Uber kind of services, will go very high because there is a sudden increase in the demand. Such cases, we can call it as spiky usage or spiky pattern. But another usage pattern is part-time. So part-time usage pattern means this increases the usage at a regular intervals and the usage is constant. So for example, we have scheduled the backup. So at regular intervals, the usage will increase. That usage is constant for some time. Again, after some time, it will decrease. Suppose if we have scheduled uh, the backup process, so the infrastructure required for doing this backup will be consumed more when it trigger the backup process. But once the backup is completed, it will releasing those services and their usage will be reduced. So this happens at regular intervals. So that is called the part-time or scheduled usage. Another usage pattern is cyclical. So in cyclical usage pattern, the demand increases slowly. So that means it will increase. And once it reach the top, then it will start reducing slowly. So it's not like the spiky, it's not suddenly increasing, not suddenly decreasing. So here increasing slowly, and once it reach the maximum, then it reducing slowly. Again, after some time, it will increase, and again after some time it will decrease. So that is like a up and down is happening, but not in a regular interval, and also this is not a spiky increase. It just slowly increases and then slowly decreases. So this usage patterns, how you will manage in an on-premise environment. Suppose there is a sudden spike happening in the usage. Will you be able to manage that inside your on-premise environment? No. In such cases, we have to think about the elasticity. So what is elastic or elasticity? So when you use the cloud services, you will get the flexibility of configuring the services with the scaling conditions. What is the benefit is whenever you provision or whenever you consume more services or whenever the demand increases, the resources will be allocated accordingly. Suppose if the demand is increased, then it will allocate more resources. When the demand decreases, according to that, the allocation of resources also decreases. So that means there is no much difference in the allocation of resource and the usage. So what is the actual usage? And you are allocating only that much. That is the benefit of using the cloud resources. So for enabling this elasticity in your cloud resources, you will be configuring the auto scaling conditions. Or if it is a serverless service, it will automatically manage the elasticity. Means if it is a on-demand service, you can configure auto scaling conditions. If it is a serverless service, it can automatically allocate resources. So whenever the demand increases, it automatically allocate more resources. When the demand decreases, it slowly release the resources. So this feature of cloud is called elasticity. Now let's talk about the security on cloud. Security is an important factor because people uh, thinks that cloud is not secure because we are sending our data to a public environment where other users also involved. So this is a misconception because in cloud environment, the cloud service provider ensure that the security boundary is properly defined, that who can access which type of resource, all is controlled in the cloud environment. And this cloud is compliant with the security standards. So you can ensure that the data that you are uh, sending to this cloud is maintaining the compliance standards required by the organization. The cloud service providers already implemented the security at different levels because security is actually a shared responsibility. But at the cloud side or cloud vendor side, they have implemented the security at different levels. There is data center security, perimeter security, compute or server level security, network security, authentication and authorization based security, and application security. So application and data security is actually a shared responsibility because infrastructure security is taken care by the cloud because the infrastructure is completely managed and maintained by the cloud service provider. The server security is also, sorry, the uh, yeah, data center security, server security, and your network security, these all taken care by the cloud service provider. So we don't need to worry about that. But application security and data security, like how you are storing your data and for whom you are giving access to your application. So that is controlled by the user. That is the responsibility of the user to manage the authentication and authorization. So cloud is providing various tools for monitoring and troubleshooting this security. Inside your cloud environment, you will be able to evaluate the security implementation, like what kind of security is implemented by the cloud and by the user. It is also possible to use some third-party solutions, like we call it as AWS partner solutions. So AWS is providing a lot of security services. Along with that, the AWS partner solutions also can be used for implementing the security. So there are a lot of AWS partner solutions available. If you go to the marketplace, you will be able to see the security solutions offered by various third-party service providers. As I mentioned earlier, security is a shared responsibility because when we talk about the security, some of the security concepts or security parameters are taken care by cloud, and some of them needs to be taken care by the user. So AWS is responsible for protecting the infrastructure that runs the services offered in the cloud. It's we call as security of the cloud. So security of the cloud means AWS is responsible for providing the security. So mostly that is the network and infrastructure security. And customer is also responsible to uh, ensure the security for the data and services that he use. So customer responsibility is determined by the AWS cloud services that they select because some of the services customer is responsible to configure the security. Some of the services AWS will take care of the security. So depends on what security depends on what service you are consuming from AWS. The responsibility is either put on cloud or put on the user. So security in the cloud means it depends on which service the user consumes. So security in the cloud is either configured by the user or the cloud service provider. So one example what I can say is for data storage solutions, we are configuring the data encryption. So data encryption is a feature offered by cloud, but whether it can be used or not, mean whether it is enabled or not, that is controlled by the user. Suppose if the user is not enabling the data encryption, or if the user is not using the encryption keys provided by AWS or the customer managed keys, that is a responsibility of the user. Similarly, authentication applied on uh, applications like if there is a web application deployed and enabling the authentication for those applications, that is also a responsibility of the user or customer. Business needs, customer needs accelerate business transformation initiatives. So the customer is expecting the cloud to provide services that they need because they may have to build and deploy the applications of various type. They may need to use these cloud services to deploy some new applications and services which is emerging. They also may not have expertise to work on this cloud. So some of the features and functionalities need to be taken care by the cloud. So the customer needs to have sufficient knowledge on the cloud services, means they must have some administrator who can work on the cloud services. But some of the features and services who will take care? The cloud will take care. And they have to ensure this cloud security and compliance. So as a customer, when they are planning to deploy their applications and services on the cloud, it is the responsibility of the customer to ensure the cloud security and compliance is aligned. Develop cloud skills and approaches. So provide the training to the team for working on the cloud technologies. Ensure the people who is working on the tools and technologies, they have the knowledge on those cloud services and how to efficiently use those cloud services. So they need training on using these cloud services. Reduce the operating cost. Customer needs to reduce the operating cost, which means they don't want to spend a lot of money on operations where administrator needs to sit and manage everything. When they use the cloud, they will get this benefit because here in the cloud, most of these functionalities will be taken care by the cloud, like backup, disaster recovery, monitoring. All these will be taken care by the cloud. So the customer requirement is satisfied because customer is expecting to reduce the cost on infrastructure and customer is expecting to reduce the cost on operating this environment, so that will be taken care by the cloud. Innovate quickly. So customer need not to spend a lot of money on infrastructure to innovate. So suppose they are planning to build some new solutions, they don't want to spend a lot of money for uh, buying those infrastructure. So they can simply go to the cloud and start using those services. So customer requirement is they want to try out some things. But for doing this try, they don't need to spend a lot of money. So they can use the cloud environment for building those experimental applications or POCs. Modernization. Access a broad set of migration services and tools. As a cloud service provider, AWS is offering a large set of tools and services for migrating the applications and services to the cloud. Suppose if you want to migrate your database solutions to the cloud, it may be a relational database or no SQL database solutions. The database migration service, DMS, is helping the customers to migrate their databases to the cloud. Then application migration services are available, which helps you to evaluate whether migration is possible, and if possible, then migrate the application to the cloud. So the assessment and the migration can be done by these tools. So first, these tools can do the migration assessment and then execute the migration. Build and operate high-performing resilient systems. They need to build a high-performance systems when they migrate. from the on-premise. Suppose in on-premise they are using some servers. When they migrate to the cloud, they needs to use same kind of services or same set of servers with a high performance and a resilience. So in case if something goes down, we need to ensure that the cloud will automatically take care of that and provision a new instance of that server. So that's called the resiliency feature. Realize cost savings while reducing the risk. When we migrate the applications and services, we also need to ensure that we reduce the risk of data loss and reduce the cost. So we have to ensure that the applications and services are migrated successfully to the cloud environment. Rapidly changing expectations. Use ready to use services for enhanced experiences. So while using this cloud environment, customers will get the benefit of using this ready to use solutions, basically a SaaS or PaaS solutions. So even though they are not an expert in building the cloud solutions, they can still use that ready to use solutions. For example, if I want to deploy a containerized application, I can use a container service which can directly run my application as a container within the cloud environment. Or I want to share some data with my customers. So what I can do is I can use the pre-created storage solutions like maybe S3 bucket or file storage services. So we can easily share those storage solutions to share the data with other users. Analyze, process data to uncover what is important. When we use the cloud services for data analysis, where we are uh, using gigabytes or terabytes of data, means a large volume of data, we can use the cloud service solutions to uncover those data and identify which is important for the data management solutions. Suppose if they are building an AI solution. So what is required for building that AI solutions, for building a data set? So they can use the cloud services to build that data set. Benefit from 20 plus years of artificial intelligence experience. So as an experienced service provider of AI with over 20 plus years of experience, AWS is always innovating new AI features and functionalities, starting from very basic AI services like machine learning models, deep learning models like vision services, or some uh, text and audio services to the generative AI services. So even now, the cloud services offers generative AI services and agentic AI services. If you if you are working on the AI platform, you can understand In AWS, we have various AI solutions like AWS Bedrock, which you can use to build various AI solutions. Data and innovation. Explore new ideas in a secure data lake. Data lake is a kind of uh, data storage which can store a very large volume of data. So this data can be a processed data or can be a raw data. And we can use this data for various applications and solutions. So AWS is providing the data lake solutions to store the data and integrate this data solutions with the other services. Build quickly by using a microservice based platform. Suppose if you are planning to build a microservices based application, you can use various services available on AWS, like AWS container, it means Elastic Container Services, ECS, or EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Services, which helps you to deploy your microservices in a containerized format. It is also providing a set of integration solutions that helps you to uh, connect various solutions in a microservices architecture, like message-based solutions. You have SQS, you have SNS, you have event-based solutions like Event Bridge. Okay, so there are lots of integration solutions available. For authentication and authorization, we have Cognito services available. For serverless applications, we have AWS Amplify available, AWS Lambda available, AWS Step Functions available. So there are lots of applications and services that we can use to build microservices based applications. Even you can use the AWS partner solutions to uh, build and deploy your application. Suppose if you are not able to find a suitable solution provided by AWS, no worries. You can still use the AWS partner solutions which are available on the marketplace. Security, compliance, and resilience. Ensure that data integrity with a secure infrastructure. As we have discussed earlier, the AWS infrastructure or AWS cloud is aligned with the various security standards like a HIPAA, ISO, and many. So you can literally deploy almost any kind of applications and services. It may be the applications from various domains, including healthcare domain, financial domain, education domain, legal domains, and more. Meet the data residency requirements with the regions. So you can select any region for storing the data because all the AWS regions provides data storage solutions like S3 storage, EBS, or yeah, EBS, EFS, and S3 solutions. They are providing the data storage solutions. So where you want to store your data, in which region you want to store the data, you can provision the resources in that particular region and then deploy it. In case, in case if you want to ensure the data needs to be replicated to other regions, you can also enable the geo replication for the data storage solutions. Connect directly to financial service expert. So you can check the cost associated with each AWS services. You can evaluate the cost in the cost explorer in AWS services. And also you can directly communicate with the financial experts in AWS so they can guide you on choosing the services and regions. So maybe you are confused about the regions and the services because not every region is providing the same cost. So not every region is providing the same set of services. So if you need support from AWS, you can directly contact those service experts so they can help you on identifying the appropriate solutions. Experimentation. Trade fixed expenses for variable expense. So it is very, very difficult for organizations to spend money for experiments because sometimes we spend a lot of money on building new solutions, and if it get failed, you will lose the entire money. So the cloud solutions will help you in fixing this. So you can start building those applications or start experimenting the services on the cloud environment. And in case if things fails, no worries, you can simply release the resources and stop paying for that. You don't need to spend anything on the resources. This helps to avoid cost for projects that don't work out. So this will help you to avoid the cost that you usually spend for projects that is not working because you want to do some experiments, but if you spend a lot of money for buying the infrastructure or buying the licenses or buying the resources, but if things not working well, then you will lose everything. So instead of that, you can just use the cloud, do all the experiments in the cloud. If things not working, you can just leave it. There is no need to pay anything for that. Increase focus on activities that drive revenue. So you can start thinking about the resources or solutions that is brings the revenue, and you can focus on the cloud services without worrying about the management and maintenance of those services. So you don't need to spend anything for the resources. So start building the solutions directly on the cloud resources. So that is all about the cloud services. In this, we have identified what is cloud, how it is different from the on-premise, what are the driving parameters for cloud, and how this cloud is beneficial for us for building and deploying the applications on the cloud. Now, if you are interested to learn more about the cloud services, AWS is offering a variety of certifications. starting from the fundamental level certification to the advanced level certifications. So if you are completely new to the AWS, then you can use or you can go for the cloud practitioner certification, because in this certification you will be learning the complete fundamental concepts of AWS cloud, starting from the global infrastructure, the resources, management of users and applications, and also security, governance, and compliance. But if you are looking for some advanced certifications, we can go for the associate level certifications that is available at various uh, domains or various roles. Like if you are a developer, you can use the developer associate certification. But if you are an administrator, you can go for SysOps associate certification. If you are a solution architect, then you can go for the solution architect associate certification. If you want to go into a professional certification after your solution architect associate certification, you can go for the solutions architect professional certification. Similarly, people who is working in the development as well as operations, they can go for the advanced level of certification, that is DevOps engineer professional. So that is available. Along with this, there are some specialty certifications also available on networking, data analytics, database, machine learning, SAP on AWS, and security. So these are some specialty certifications that we can go for. So these are the various certifications we have on AWS. So if you need to know more about the certifications, so our team will be sharing the contact number of our team. So you can connect with our team members. They will help you in identifying the correct certification for you. So that's it from my side. Now, if you have any questions, please post your questions in the chat. So if you have any questions, please post your questions in the chat.